Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Goaltending, where your why is bigger than your excuses. Today is a very special episode in honor of Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And I'm going to share my story about my connection to suicide and the history background behind that for me. So it's going to get a little deep, but I want it to be vulnerable because I think it's a really important topic to talk about. Before we get into that, as always, I just want to say thank you for tuning in, allowing me to be a part of your journey. Truly means a lot. And I want to encourage you to continue the conversation for today beyond this episode. It's important to have the conversations and to seek growth and to seek help when it's needed. So I do want to share that 988 is a number that you can call. It's the crisis hotline for any military personnel that check out this episode. If you call 988 and press 1, that's the Veteran Crisis Hotline. That's an excellent resource to start with if anyone is in need of help. If today's episode triggers you, impacts you, make sure you talk to somebody about it. But I just think it's important. So I do want to share my story. Before I get into that, I do want to remind you all today's episode is fueled by Prepping with Peppers. Very happy to have them as a sponsor. So thank you to them as well. And please like, subscribe, share today's episode to help somebody that you know is struggling in their life that could use help, or just somebody that you knows will be impacted by the message. So in order to share my story and connection to suicide, it requires some background of myself. So we are going to get into me a little bit today. And it starts with when I was very, very young, my mom and dad got divorced. And my mom remarried by the time I started elementary school. So I was still very young. And the man that she married that became my stepdad, he was a pivotal, a very important father figure in my life. From that point through sixth grade, so all of elementary school and the first year of middle school for me, he was the father figure that I had in my life. And he, had me in Cub Scouts and did those things with me, and went to basketball games, and there was a lot of things that I learned from him. He was a good father figure. Of course, he had his flaws, but I will say of the father figures that I had in terms of men that my mom was married to, he was the most impactful in terms of teaching things and taking the time to teach important things to me and my brother, at least in my eyes. So in sixth grade, my mom and him got divorced as well, and we moved. And still being very young, it led to some problems in my life, things that I didn't understand, things that I didn't know how to deal with. But ultimately, I never forgot the importance of his role in my life and the things that I learned from him, and him being involved and really being in the Cub Scouts taught me a lot of great things early on that I wouldn't have known if he didn't take the time to encourage that and be involved with that. But ultimately, we moved away. And every year, even though he was no longer a part of our lives and we had moved away, I would still think about him, especially around the holidays. And I would always think, like, maybe I should reach out to him and let him know that I appreciate his presence in my life early on, especially with my parents being divorced and my dad was in jail. He was the person that I had to go to for a long time that I learned so much from. And I would think about it, but I never called him. And part of it was, I was really young, so I didn't understand everything. And it feels like you have forever when you are that young. It feels like, well, it's okay. I'll reach out to him eventually. And then the next Christmas would come around and I would think about him again. And I would think about how, maybe I should reach out to him and tell him how much I appreciate him and what I learned from him. And then the next Christmas and the next Christmas. to the point that I graduated high school, and I was so proud. And I remember thinking about him when I graduated high school and thinking like he would be proud of me for this accomplishment. And but I still didn't reach out because there's always a tomorrow. And then I got to college, and college wasn't even something that no one in my family had graduated with a bachelor's degree from college. It wasn't really something that I was necessarily pushed toward in my house or by my family, but it's something that I pursued because I wanted to continue to grow and create a worthwhile career and just continue to learn. So I sought out college, and I was like, man, he'd be really proud to see me at this level and to have gone on to college, especially with some of the trouble that I got into early as a kid. I was like, he would really be proud to see this growth, and I should reach out to him to let him know I appreciate him, that he was a valuable part of my childhood and helping me get to that point. And then one day while I was in college, I got a phone call that said that he had passed away. And I asked what happened, and I found out that he committed suicide. And I no longer had tomorrow anymore. And I always wished that I had just reached out, because when my parents got divorced, he didn't have a partner in life anymore. He lost his spouse. He looked at me and my brother as his own kids and tried to raise us that way. And he lost the close family that he had when they got divorced. And I didn't see or understand that as a kid. And I don't know that if I had reached out, if it would have made an impact. I think it's very important that we don't play the what if game. It may or may not have, and I'll never know that. But I wish that I would have reached out sooner. Or every time that I thought about reaching out, but I thought that, well, I'll just reach out next time. Health, fitness, fat loss, sleep, all goals that are impacted by the fuel you put into your body. I've tried meal prepping at home, and I've tried multiple meal prep companies, including those that deliver, but I'll be honest, nothing has been better than the meals I get from Prepping with Peppers. They offer fresh, never frozen meals on a weekly rotating basis, so you don't have to get tired of eating the same meals over and over again. So save yourself some time for the things that matter most by ordering your meals at preppingwithpeppers.com. And next time never came, and it always got pushed off, and it got kicked down the road. And so myself, my mom, my brother, and a couple of people that my mom and him had been friends with, we went to his funeral, and we were the only ones there because he didn't have anybody else. But we reminisced and we remembered the good times that we had with him. And I just always wish that I had reached out, and I'll never know if that would have made a difference. But I just want to bring that up because we don't know what tomorrow brings. We have today. And it's so important to show love and support to the people in your life, to reach out, to not wait for tomorrow, just assuming that tomorrow is going to come, because it's not promised. And I know that almost everyone has some kind of connection to suicide in some way, whether it be their own personal struggles, whether it be a family member or a friend or just a close friend's family member or friend. But in some way, virtually everyone has some kind of connection to suicide. And so I wanted to share that story for multiple reasons. First off, to show that it hits close to home. And it's so important to have the conversations, to show support, to be there for people. For me, being in the military, we have a term called battle buddy. It's the person that you always know where they are, that they always have your back, that you can always reach out to, especially in basic training. Like, you always have to be with that person wherever you go. But you get beyond that, battle buddy becomes so much more. It becomes like knowing that you have someone who has your back, that has support, that you can confide in, that you can trust to share your problems with, to help push through difficult things together. And so I want to encourage you to identify the battle buddies in your life. Identify the people that you can confide in, that you can trust, that have your back, and share when you're going through those challenging times. Don't wait for them to reach out, because they may not realize that you need the help. And they may think that I can always reach out tomorrow, not knowing the struggles that you're dealing with. So reach out, whether it's calling 988, whether it's reaching out to a friend, a battle buddy, a family member. Talk about the struggles that you're having. Share them, because people care and they want to help. But if they don't know, then they don't know. So I want to dedicate this episode to Rick Watson, my stepdad growing up, that lost his life to suicide. Rick, I appreciate you. I appreciate the lessons that you instilled in me, for treating me as your own son early on when I really needed it. I encourage you all to have the conversations. And if you're on the other side of even thinking that a friend, a family member, someone that you're close to is isolated, is struggling, is going through anything, it's better to reach out and just ask them how they're doing, or just show that you care, rather than waiting or putting it off, because we never know. So whether it's reaching out to ask for help or reaching out to show that you're there to support, don't wait, because there is help out there. There is resources out there. And so I will share some resources in the show notes for today. 988 is a very quick, easy resource to go to for help. For military, there are Veterans Affairs resources. There's 988+1 to get to the Veteran Crisis Line, and so much more. So if you don't have that battle buddy, there are other resources out there. But please, it's not worth doing something in the moment of struggle that's going to have a lasting impact on your life. So seek help. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable, to share that, because it's a hard story, but it's so important and necessary to talk about. And with it being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, I just felt that it was so important to share the story, my connection to it, and just the importance of seeking help, reaching out, not waiting for tomorrow, to let people know that you are there for them, that you care. So thank you all for tuning in, allowing me to be a part of your journey. Please like, subscribe, share today's episode. I wanted to keep it short and to the point, to not take up too much of your time, but to get this message across, because it's so important. So please share it, comment with your thoughts and questions, to join the conversation, and let's grow.